These are the first two of a lot of 79 series that we are about to build for a company called Dampier Bunbury Natural Gas Pipeline, or also Australian Gas and Infrastructure Group. And for these guys it's really important that the vehicles are absolutely identical, because they are sometimes driven by different operators and they had problems in the past that all their vehicles were different, fuses were in different spots, the wiring was different in general. So we've built the first two and they are identical copies of each other. So we've now got a template that we will use for these, and we're just gonna be making more of them. I think they're probably the coolest work ute that I've ever seen, because these guys, they go out and work, but they pretty much do overlanding at the same time, because when they go out to service the pipeline, they go into the middle of nowhere basically, and they just swag it for 10 days while they're camping. So they got a fridge, they live out of these things while they work out of them as well. So we put everything and more in that we usually put in an overlanding setup as well. I'll just start at the front. Come and have a look. So you got your usual stuff. It's probably one of the very few usual things. You got a battery isolator. In this one, though, it's also a dual battery isolator, because we kill both ground connections of these batteries. What we've got in here is you got your normal start battery, and then you've got a backup battery. So in the cab you've got an override switch, and that override switch can link both batteries together. We use a Redarc SBI12 relay for that. So while you're just driving normally, what will happen is the smart solenoid will detect that the engine is running, it will close the contact, both batteries are linked together and both batteries get charged. If you now stop driving, you turn your key off and you forgot to turn a light off, what will happen is the voltage will slowly go down on both batteries till a certain cutoff point. Then the solenoid will disconnect the batteries from each other and the start battery will drop because you forgot to turn the lights off. This backup battery stays full though. If you then come back to the car and you can't start, all you need to do is you press a button, you link the batteries together, and you can start from this battery. We call that the get home safe option. It also works really well in case your alternator fails. What you can do is you link both batteries together and you've got two batteries that you can use to drive home with, or drive back to reception, to the next road, to the next town, wherever you can get help or get spare parts. Another thing that's really interesting with these builds is the communication system. So we got our normal UHF, the GME XRS 370, but then we've also got, I think they call it the gas line radio. It's a Simoco unit and it is a VHF. So this has got really long range. I can't remember what they said. I think it's a few hundred kilometers, but don't quote me on it. It's supplied by them. It's programmed to their fleet. We've installed that. Plus, if you have a look on top here, we've also got an Iridium Go, that's satellite communication, and on the other side there we got a Selfie Go aerial. So we've got 4 different communication channels on these. We got UHF, VHF, satellite radio, and we've also got a Selfie booster. I think that's the most we've ever done in communication on a car. Then you've got our normal driving lights here. We chose the Hella Rockloom 380s because they are the most rugged light and they've got a solid performance. They're the only lights where I'm pretty sure they outlast the 70 series. Apart from that, that is basically it under the bonnet. We've mainly used the fuse box there as well. We got normal options like as soon as you turn your key on with a slight time delay, your headlights come on as you get in most mining vehicles. We got door alarms for the toolboxes. All that stuff is coming off the power outlet there, the Toyota accessory fuse box. And that's it for the front. I could show you again on this one, but be exactly the same. If you want to have a look into the cab, if you have a look here, we've got a department of the interior roof console. Then we got our Simoco mine radio, the XRS 370 UHF, a nice big light in the back here. We also got a different center console, then an EC off-road head unit with 2 different rear view cameras, And we've integrated the tire pressure monitoring system into it, which is a safety feature as well. We've got our light controls on the side there for the driving lights and the work lights in the back. We've got our beacon switch in the center console here and a battery link switch as well. That is the Get Home Safe button that I've talked about before. Also, if you want to have a look here, as soon as we put that seat a little bit forward and fold it, this is the communication central. So here we've got the Iridium Go unit, we've got the Simoco Mindside radio, we've got the Selfie Go unit, we got a speaker for the Simoco radio, and we've got a charging port for the Iridium Go. All of this is accessory triggered, so as soon as you turn the key on, all of that is going to come on. What else have we done in here? Standard in there. I think that's about it in the cab. All the bits and pieces, like for example, the XRS radio. It's all behind the dash. The Redarc unit for the key on lights on, it's behind the dash as well. We've put the charge ports on the sides of the dash. So you got twin USBs there. You got twin USBs here as well. I think that's it for the cab. I'm pretty sure I forgot something, but then I'll just come back to it. Come around this side and I'll show you a bit more about what it's looking like in the back. This here is the part that we like the most. So we made a board here. All the boards, all the brackets that we've did for this vehicle, they've all been Line-X. We make the metal, the aluminium work here in-house in our little metal workshop, and then we get it all to Line-X. They put a cover on it. I'm a big fan of the Line-X cover. It just looks good and it's really hard wearing. We've got the 2000 watt Redarc inverter up here. We've got our EGON DC Hub. We got charge ports here. Over here we've got our Victron battery monitor. On the side of this is actually quite a tricky part. It doesn't look like a lot, but what can happen is this has got a lithium battery in it as well, 150 amp hour Amptron battery with 175 amp maximum discharge. But what can happen is, let's say you keep the fridge running and running and running, and even though this has got a 120 watt solar panel on the roof, let's say you parked it inside and the fridge completely drains the battery, so eventually, being a lithium battery, to protect itself, it will just open the contact and it will shut down. It will completely shut down. So the next time you jump in your car and you turn your car on, alternator kicks in, and you expect the DC-DC charger from Redarc, which we mounted on the side there, to kick in, it won't, because it will not see a battery connected to it. So the DC-DC chargers need at least 4 volt left in the battery to detect that there's a battery, and only then will they turn on. So for this one here, what you can do is, with the engine running, you hold this button pressed in. That will actually send power from the start battery to the output of the secondary battery, pretty much connect the circuits together, but with a resistor in between, so we prevent large currents. The maximum that can come through is 2 amps, but it's just enough for the DC-DC charger to realize, oh hey, there's a battery connected, so I better turn on again. And as soon as it does that, it delivers enough power to bring the battery back to life, which will then get charged, and it's all systems go again. So it's just a little tricky part that we put in when we use Redarc DC-DC chargers. If you haven't got that, there's other ways around to jump starting your battery. You can do it with a solar blanket. You can even do it with a jump start pack directly onto the lithium battery terminals. But for mining company or oil and gas company, this is by far the easiest and the safest as well. Next point here, we've got obviously our battery shunt that is connected to the monitor. We've got our twin A&L fuse holder, which is connected to the battery and then has got a fuse for the DC hub and for the inverter. Another cool part of this is, if you have a look in there, it was really important for these guys to have speakers from the main radio inside the canopy. So that when the guys are out there, they don't get too bored and they can listen to music while they're working away, and having the cap closed so the cap isn't completely covered in dust, but also because they've got their phone hooked up to Bluetooth in there, so if somebody's ringing, They'll hear it through the speakers and they can pick up the telephone. Apart from that, we've got ARB twin piston compressor in here with a switch right here. And we've got a hose reel in here. Retractable hose reel with 9 meters of hose on it. So this is the working area of the work ute. So they will service valves and all sorts of stuff here. Plus, they go off-road, so they have to deflate their tires. And that is long enough to go all the way around the vehicle and inflate the tires. And the cool thing is, it comes with a proper Nitto fitting. So you can use all sorts of power tools that you can run in the workshop. Also proper tire inflation gauges, rattle guns, air blowers, whatever you can find in the tool shop really. On the other side, and I'll show you this on this one, because that side looks exactly the same. We've got an MSA drop slide in here with a 90-liter National Luna fridge freezer. As you can see, they've gone all out for absolutely everything, which is really handy for these guys. They have to freeze a fair few things as well when they go out. Like I said, they have to cook for themselves. And the MSA slides are brilliant, especially together with the fridge freezer from National Luna. Plus, both sides will have do have our National Luna lights. So they've got white and orange light on both sides. You see this side here as well. Also got the National Luna light on there. You can swap that to white just in case you need a little bit more light. Same on that side, obviously. And then on the back of the vehicle, we've got our mine bar on there. We've got 2 Hella Rock 155 work lights. Those are operatable from the cab, so just in case you have to reverse in dark spots, you can turn light on the back. Then we've got a really low profile beacon, so it stays on. We've got a mining flag here as well. That is obviously removable. You don't want that in town everywhere, so what you can do, it's got a quick release fitting and then just a Deutsch plug, so you can have the top bit lit up in the dark. And then obviously we got a camera down there, a camera up here that's connected to the EC off-road unit. So this one is on while you're driving and it acts like a rear view mirror replacement. That one here automatically comes live as soon as you put it in reverse, and you can see the whole area around you. So you can easily hook up a trailer. You can also make sure you don't reverse into something, or in mining even more important, over somebody, because you really want to prevent that. As you can see, this side here is a complete copy of the other side. Same thing with the speakers in the back there. The cab looks the same too. One of the main reasons these guys actually came to us and wanted us to do their work is because we could use the EGON DC Hub. For them it is really important that they know where they have to go to in case something fails. Everybody who's ever been in a mining vehicle knows the problem. Your beacon doesn't work and everybody's pretty sure it's the fuse, but now you have to find the fuse. That is a mission, and that can take days because sometimes the fuse is in the weirdest spot. Here, all the fuses that we've used for everything that is coming off the lithium battery is on here, on the EGON DC Hub. All the other fuses are in the factory fuse box under the bonnet, so we've standardized this. Also, for all these vehicles that we build for this company, the layout of the EGON DC Hub, what fuse is what, is exactly the same. So they get a piece of paper that's labeled F0 to F13 for all the fuses on here, and they know everything. F1 is always, I'm not 100% sure if that is true for this one now, but F1, for example, will always be the beacon. F2 will always be the fridge. F3 will always be the work lights, and so on and so forth. That was really important for them. Plus, they've now got one single spot they can go to just in case they have to do fault finding. All they need to do is take the cover off and they can access all the circuits here. I think that really sold it for these guys. Also in here on this side, we've got a Redarc Tow Pro unit. And like I mentioned before, we got the twin USB ports in here as well. Driving light switch. The driving lights obviously come on with high beam as soon as that switch is on. And then we've got our work light switch here as well. So since you turn that switch on, your lights in the back turn on. The TowPro unit itself is obviously mounted behind the dash. All you need for the TowPro is just the control dial to adjust the brake force and to switch in between an inertia sensing mode and just the old style dial it to the brake force that you want. And as soon as you touch the brake pedal, it will always brake with that brake force. There's a 120 watt solar panel on the roof as well. So these vehicles get sometimes parked up at the airport when there's a shift change and one crew flies out, the other crew sometimes only flies in 2-3 days later. They like to keep the fridge going if there's still something in there. So with the solar panel on top, all they have to do is just park it in the sun and the battery will recharge every day, especially with the National Lunar Fridge, because the power consumption is so little on the National Lunar Fridge, even in a closed canopy up north. In here we've got a freezer compartment. The cool thing about the National Lunar Fridges is they've got the different boxes in here, so you don't have to squash everything on the bottom, because you put something in the bottom and then you put another little basket in and you put things on top, which is extremely handy. So like I said, this side is the freezer side, or you can set it up as a fridge. And this side here is the fridge side, also comes with 3 baskets in it, so you don't squash things and you can properly organize your fridge, which I think is a great idea. And this side here can be also fridge or freezer side. The only thing is you can either have both as a freezer, you can have both as a fridge, or if you want a fridge freezer, this side has to be the fridge and this side here has to be the freezer. You can't swap that around because of the way the fridge is made. You got your controls here. Fridge is off at the moment, we just hold that for a little bit. So you got left compartment, right compartment. You see the temperatures and then you can obviously set the temperatures. I think usually they're set to about -20 and 1 degree. That should be all you need to know. Another good thing these have, they got a turbo button, because they got a variable speed compressor in there. Just in case you want the temperature to drop really fast, you put the turbo button on and there's nothing about variable speed anymore. It's just as much as it can. That's it. Brilliant fridges, these ones. Suppose the only thing left to do, that's probably the first time that that's been done with a mining vehicle, is give it our patch of approval. This one here is now ready to drive anywhere. Mining vehicle with a patch. See you for the next one.